Okay, welcome back to Math 31. This time we're looking at section 5-6, and we'll be solving equations involving decimals. You can see we have an equal sign, so this is an equation, and we have this decimal number 1.2 to deal with. Now, honestly, this isn't much different than how we handle regular solving of equations. So I'm going to add 1.2 to both sides, and that'll take the form of going over to the other side and changing the sign. And what really happens when you do that is you're adding, in this case, 1.2 to both sides. And on the left-hand side, it just cancels off. So it's as if that original 1.2 that's being subtracted just disappeared. So we skip all this step here and just take the negative 1.2 over to the other side of the equal sign and make it a positive 1.2. So finishing up here, we get t equals 9.2. 9.2 is the number that makes that original statement true. Okay, here's another one, and this one involves a multiplication. You're multiplying negative 2.5 times m, and you end up with a result of 35. So if you undo the multiplying by dividing, the negative 2.5 cancels off top and bottom. It's the number 1 when that happens. And I could put a 1 times m here. Usually we don't bother with the multiplying by 1 there. We just put m. And on the other side, we get negative 14. You can use your calculator starting with section 5.5, so we're in calculator allowed territory here. Okay, here's another example, and we've got variables on both sides of the equal sign. So we'll rearrange to change that. I'll bring that 8a back over to the left, and while I'm at it, I'm going to take the minus 3.2 over to the other side. Now I'm just going to show that part of it first. The plus 8a becomes a minus 8a when you bring it over, and the minus 3.2 becomes a plus 3.2 when you take it over. But I also have to account for the parts that are staying where they were and not moving, so I'm writing those down now. So now I simplify the left side. 12a minus 8a is 4a. And simplify by adding on the other side. And then divide by 4 to finish the job here. These 4's cancel and you just get a, or 1 times a if you prefer. And then you have 1.95 is your final answer here. And again, your calculator will help you find these numerical values. Okay, example D here, we're going to start by distributing. So the first round gives 6 times x, or 6x, and then 6 times 3.4. And we still have that 8.5 to deal with. I'm going to take the 20.4 over so that it's combined with the like term on the other side. This 8.5 that was already over here, and this minus 20.4 combined to give negative 11.9. And then to counteract the multiplication, we divide both sides by 6. So we end up with an answer. If you take your calculator and go negative 11.9 divided by 6, you're going to get a repeating decimal. And it doesn't start repeating until that 3, so I put the bar above the 3. If you were rounding that to the hundredths, it'd be negative 1.98. Okay, what we're going to do on this one and the subsequent problem is we're going to clear the fractions out of the problem. And it all depends on how many places you have to move your decimal. If you have to move your decimal just one spot, then you're going to multiply everything by 10. Now, when you multiply everything by 10, you end up with 20x on the left. And distributing here, you get 50x. And then on this one, when you multiply by 10, you'll clear your decimal. It moves over one spot. And that was the purpose of doing that step. We no longer have decimal points in the answer. Okay, we're going to take this 50 over to join its like term partner over here. 20x minus 50x, I'll go ahead and simplify that to 30x or negative 30x. And then on the other side, we're going to keep that 216 going, the negative 216. And we're down to the stage where we got to cancel this multiplication. Multiplying by negative 30 is counteracted by dividing by negative 30. So our final answer here is 7.2. And once again, you can just type negative 216 divided by negative 30 on your calculators to confirm that. Okay, here's another one where we'll start by distributing, but in a minute we're going to clear these fractions out of the problem. 3 times that is 2.5 is 7.5. Subtract 7.5. And we end up with this line on the second line. Now, if we were clearing just this one, we'd move it over just one spot. But that one spot movement is not enough to clear the fraction out of this one. We have to go 2 spots. And that tells me that both sides have to be multiplied by more than 10. They'll be multiplied by 100. That's the one you multiply by when you want to move it 2 spots. So your decimal goes over 2 places. This would be 300x. And when you take 100 times 7.5, you get 750. And then finally, when you move the decimal over on this one, it clears that decimal out of the problem. And we've cleared all the decimals now. Okay, we'll move that 750 over. And by now, this part should be fairly routine for you. You gather all the like terms, in other words, the x's on one side and everything else on the other side. Simplify. And that 315 is the result of simplifying the right-hand side there. And divide by whatever it takes to cancel the number in front of the x. So now 315 divided by 300 gives us 1.05. Okay, example G. This time I'm going to choose not to clear the decimals, although if I wanted to, I could multiply everything by 100, and it would move all the decimals over 2 spots in the problem. Instead, I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that a calculator isn't bothered by decimal numbers. So I'll just bring these over just like they are, and I won't change anything as far as the number of decimal places. So let's see, I got a 15.92 area over here. And I'll be adding, because it's coming across the equal sign, a 1.2. The left side simplifies to 4m, and the right-hand side, if you add it up, goes 17.12. So we'll divide here by 4, which is fortunate because we wanted to cancel the 4. And now we have m equals 17.2 divided by 4. And you got your final result there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I got for you on this little short installment, but I hope it's useful to you.